Good morning, one and all. I'm Priscilla, and I want to do a small topic on SQL commands in database management system. What exactly is an SQL command? SQL commands are the one wherein you try to use on databases. So SQL is a structured query language. It is a standard and widely used programming language for relational database. It is a language of databases. It is used for storing, retrieving, manipulating, and organizing data that is stored for any relational databases. What exactly is a database? It's a collection of tables that contains of rows and columns. What are tables? Tables are the collection of records. It's also known as tuples. So basically, it facilitates retrieving specific information from the databases that are stored and used for further analyzing. Basically, SQL statements are being parted into 5 different groups: DDL, DML, DRL, TCL, and DCL. DDL is the data definition language which includes create, alter, rename, truncate, and group drop. We'll be concentrating only on create, alter, and drop. Rename and truncate will be doing in the other session. Whereas data manipulation language, which includes insert, update, and delete. Delete and drop are the two different commands which are included in the two different languages in SQL. Next is the DRL command, that is a data retrieval language, which includes only select. Transaction control language includes commit, rollback, and save point. Data control language includes grant and revoke. Coming to the first, that is data definition language. DDL includes create, alter, drop commands. As I told you in the before slide, we will discuss rename and truncate in the other session. Create command is used to create a new table in any database. To create a command, you need to use a syntax create table, table name followed by column 1, column names, which are referred as column 1, column 2, and then the corresponding data type. Here you see that in an example, we wanted to create a table, student, that consists of 5 columns: student ID, name, address, class, and marks. So here you see that create table STUP, student ID number, which takes the 3 variables or the 3 digits. Now, when you have a data type which is of the character type, you go for or you opt the varchar2. And the name is a long one, so each person differs having a name in the characters, the length of the name. So here we have within the brackets, that is the length of the name, that is the characters, what is there. So here what we see is the length is given as 25 and it is the varchar2. Similarly, we have the address. The address also can vary from person to person. So here we see that we have given the limit as 25. The class is given 5 characters, whereas the marks, which is having the highest value of 100. So suppose you take for 1000 also, it has only 999 will be the maximum value. That is 999 will be the maximum value. For that reason, I have opted only 3. So here it follows by a semicolon. So here you can see that the table has been created. So we have a table name STUP, as I showed you in the example here. So STUP followed by all the 5 columns with the corresponding data type and the corresponding length. So here this blue color, which will indicate the table. So each one has a corresponding column names. STUP ID, that is ID of the student, the name, the address, and the class and the marks. Now let's assume that once a table has been created, you wanted to add a column, delete a column, or modify a column. In such cases, what we do is we try to use alter command. Alter is the one wherein you see that this particular alter command will try to alter that table. So you can see that here you have alter table name, and then add the column name and the data type. Suppose you wanted to remove the class and then you wanted to add something else. So you can remove that particular class or modify that particular class using update. Now coming to this particular one, you can see that, for example, alter table stup add column name, that is mail ID, which can take the varchar, that is the variable character type of 30 length. So here in this particular table, you can see that the column name is being added. The next one is the drop command. The drop command is the one wherein it is used to drop the existing table in the database. Drop table name. For example, drop table stup. Now, when we give the drop command, immediately this particular table will be deleted from the database. It has been dropped. Next command is the data manipulation language, wherein you see that it includes insert, update, and delete. Insert is a keyword to insert new records into the table. Once we create a table with the create command, it doesn't mean that it will have all the records in itself. It is our duty to enter or insert the values or the records into that particular table which we created. So we'll be using insert into the table name followed by the column names and the corresponding values. So here we are giving the three keywords, that is insert, into, and the values are the keywords, and the table name and the column name will be referring to the columns of the table which you wanted to insert. The values will be correspondingly entered or will be taken correspondingly based on the columns which you are specifying in the order. The second way to insert the record is insert into table name, values, value 1, value 2, and value 3. So here you're not specifying which particular column, because rather you just wanted to give all the column names, the values. So whatever values are given in this second way of entering, you see that all the values will be taken immediately. For example, insert into stup, stuid, the name, address, class, and the marks. Values 101 Priscilla Defense Colony BBA DBMS 800. Now in this particular case, you can see that Priscilla is being given as single quotes. And you also have the defense colony, which is there in the single quotes. And then BBA DBMS is the one wherein you're seeing in the single quotes. So specifically, I just want to say that whenever you're giving a varchar to variable, you will be giving in the single quotes. Now coming to the values which are being inserted, your table will be as shown in this particular box. So the values are shown. Now you wanted to use an update command. So next DML command is an update command, wherein you see that it is used to modify the existing records in the table. Now in this, you see that update table name, set column 1 is equal to value 1, column 2 is equal to value 2. Where condition, for example, in such cases here, when you wanted to update a particular table, you wanted to change the values or the columns which are already inserted. In such cases, we will be using a conditional clause here, that is with the help of where. Now, for example, update STUP set is address DD colony set STUD 101. So the moment we see that that particular STUID is equal to 101 is being shown here, and then you can see that it is being represented here. Next, delete command. Delete command is used to delete existing records in the table. Now, when you wanted to delete a particular record in a table, delete from table name where condition. It's given as an example, delete from STUP where your name is equal to so and so. So here you have given STUP name is equal to Priscilla. So it will delete that particular record. The difference between a record delete and the group drop is the one wherein you see the drop will delete the complete table along with the column names, whereas delete will delete only a specific row or a record which satisfy that particular condition. Data retrieval language. Data retrieval language is the one wherein you see that it will use only one particular select command. The select statement is used to select data from the database. The data written in is the data that is being written is stored in the result table. That is, the data which is written with the help of the select statement is being used in the or will be shown in the result table. Now select column 1, column 2, column 3 from table name. So here you can see that select star from table name. For example, select star from STUP. It displays all the records and the columns. When you say select name from STUP, it only displays one particular name of that column name and the corresponding values. Maybe you must be having 100 columns and 50 rows. So when you wanted to display all the 100 columns, you can go for select star from STUP. When you wanted to select only the select name from STUP, in such cases, you see that you will be going for a specific name of that particular column. Then we also have, suppose you wanted to specify the number of rows. You can have the number of rows in, maybe you can have 1 or 2 rows you wanted to say. So in such cases, what you see is select IDs, select marks from the given particular table. So here what you see is it selects from the two columns from this particular table and displays the marks. Now you have one more particular command, which is select distinct. Select distinct is used to return only distinct different values. Inside a table, a column often contains many duplicate values. And sometimes you only want to list the different values. In such cases, you can only go for select distinct. Basically, I just want to tell you, when you have names, names will be repeated. Can be common for 1 or 2 persons. When you have marks, the marks also will be same for few of the students. In such cases, you go for select distinct so that there will not be any duplicate of marks. So in our result, which will be obtained. So select distinct column 1, column 2 from the table name will give the marks which will not contain any duplicates. For example, select distinct marks from STUP. This will return only the marks which are different. Maybe 101, 102, 201, like that. But suppose you're having 804 times, it will not display 804 times. Rather, it will only display 800 marks for 1. Now let's see what here the first one is. Select count distinct STUP. Count is a particular function which will return the number of STU marks, that is the marks which are different from that particular table. Assume that you're having out of 50 records, you're having 30 marks which are different. So the value which is written by this particular command, that is select count distinct STU marks from STUP, will be 30. Whereas when you have this particular command, that is select distinct STU marks from STUP, will return all the 30 different marks. Now you wanted to filter on based on certain condition or the criteria. So we use where clause. So the where clause is used to filter the records based on our requirement. It is used to extract only those records that fulfill a specified condition. Select column 1, column 2 from table name, where condition. So this is our syntax for select statement. It's not always required that when there is no condition, you need not use the where clause. But suppose you have select star from STUP, where STUP class is equal to BBIT. So here you see that where clause can be used with a different operators. In this particular case, we have equal to operator, which is equating the class to BBAIT. Now, next coming to the transaction control languages. Before going into transaction control languages, let's see what are transactions. Transactions are the group or the set of tasks which are performed to do a single execution. Each transaction begins with a specific task and ends when all the tasks in a group successfully complete. If any of the tasks fail, the transaction fails. Therefore, the transaction has only two results, that is success or failure. So when we go into the bank to deposit amount, so we see that when you try to deposit an amount, it is a transaction. When you wanted to withdraw certain amount from your account, it is a transaction. So basically we see that whenever there is a transfer of amount or whenever there is a removal of amount, you see that there is certain transaction. So transaction needs to be updated immediately. So when we try to insert a command or when we use an insert recording, you wanted to delete a record, you wanted to update a record, all these are the ones which reflects the database. So you wanted it to be commit, that is, if it has to be changed or saved permanently, you need to have commit command. The moment we create a table, it follows a commit command. So basically you see that commit in SQL is a transaction control language, which is used to permanently save the changes in the transaction of the database. The database cannot regain its previous state after the transaction of it. Now let's assume one example. Suppose you have a transaction amount of 10,000 into your account. You wanted to deposit 10,000 into your account. Your account is already having 50,000. So when you deposit the amount, it is 60,000, but it doesn't reflect in your account. Then you say that your database is not consistent. The bank database is not consistent. When you wanted to withdraw, only 50,000 is being shown. And assume that you have withdrawn 8,000. So the 42,000 is being reflected in your account. When you have deposit before the withdrawal, it means that it has to show 50 plus 10, 60,000. And when you are removing 8,000, it is 52 amount, which is the balance. So the transaction which has been done is not being consistent or being reflected in your bank account. So updation or any changes which occur in the database should be reflected immediately. That is done with the help of commit. So in this particular example, here you can see that commit syntax is just commit at SQL prompt. Now, as I said, I just wanted to select one. You just wanted to know the number of students, or I just wanted to know the student ID with 400, all the details of the student who is having the ID of 400. So I can give a select command, select star from that particular table where the ID is 400, followed by an insert command. Then I can use an update command. So when I'm trying to use this particular command, it is one transaction. This is the second transaction. Then the update is a third transaction. So once you do this 3 transaction, once you use commit, then immediately your database is being saved. So next one is the rollback. In rollback, we see that it is a transaction control language which is used to undo the transaction that has not been saved in the database. Now, when you have a control Z, in control Z, we see that we use control Z when we try to undo certain things. So here what we see is rollback is the one wherein you try to use in such cases when you wanted to undo certain things. You must have typed in your document, Word document, 10 lines, and in the 10 lines, 8 lines are to be updated because your faculty or your boss told you to change certain lines in that particular document. In such cases, you will try to remove that 8 lines. And then later your boss comes and says, no, let it be whatever you have done it, let it be. In such cases, you will try to use Control Z because your boss has already taken away the word, whatever you have done, let it be. So in such cases, you see you're trying to roll back to the document, whatever you have typed. So in such cases, we are going to roll back. Select star from table where ID is equal to 400. As I told you, we are using the same example. And then we are not trying to insert or update, but we are trying to roll back here. So whatever command we have used, insert, immediately after insert, when we use rollback, insertion of the record will not be done. It will be undone. So the difference between the commit and the rollback. Commit permanently saves the changes in the current transaction. Rollback will undo the changes made by the current transaction. Transactions cannot undo changes after commit execution. Transaction reaches its previous states after rollback. When transaction is successful, commit is applied. When transaction is aborted, rollback occurs. Save point. Save point command is used for temporary to save a checkpoint for a transaction so that one can roll back to that particular point wherever necessary. When you have a checkpoints, that is a point name given for a particular commands in the series, you see that it is very easy for one person to roll back to that particular save point. So the syntax for saving a point is save point, give the name of the save point, roll back to save point. The moment we say that particular save point, assume that you are having 10 different or 100 commands which you are trying to execute. Start off from the 1 to 6 or 1 to 10 commands and give one checkpoint there. Next 11 to 20, you're giving the second checkpoint. So you can see the checkpoints which I have given SP1, SP2. So like that, when you're trying to give and when we say roll back SP1, immediately you see that it will roll back to those particular commands. Till then, that is 1 to 10 will be, 11 to 20 will be rolled back and 1 to 10 only will be existing. So that is what is called as checkpoints. I repeat, save point is similar to the checkpoints what we give for the series of commands while we are working on SQL prompt. So the syntax for giving the save point is save point followed by the name of that. So here you can see save point followed by SP1. Suppose you are having 100 or 50 commands which you are working daily. So what we can do is 1 to 10, immediately after that you give a checkpoint saying save point SP1. 11 to 20 save point SP2. So once you give rollback at the 50th command and you say roll back to SP3, immediately the commands from 31 to 50 will be rolled back. It will not be saved. And 1 to 30 will be existing. That is the purpose of save point. See, release save point. Once you commit and you feel that the database can be stored and all the data, whatever are being done, can be saved, you can release the save point. Save point is used to save that particular checkpoint and the commands whichever are being executed in between the one to that particular save point. Once the save point has been released, one can no longer use rollback command to undo the transaction using save point, which is been released. The last one is the data control language. The data control language is a syntax similar to the computer programming language, used to control access to data stored in database. In particular, it is a component of the structured query language. Grant. Grant allows the specified users to perform the specified task. Revoke. Cancel previous granted or denied transactions or permissions. Now, whenever you're granting a permission to on a particular table to a person or a user, you can revoke that particular permissions by using revoke command. The operation for which the privileges may be granted to or revoked from the user or a role apply to both data definition, data manipulation languages. Now let's see how it has been done. When we have a grant command, SQL command is specifically used to provide privileges to database objects for a user. This command also allows user to grant permissions to other users too. Grant privilege name or object name to user name, public or the role name. So here you can see the syntax. grant insert or the select command on that particular table to the username. So here what we are trying to do is we are granting the permissions of insert and select to the user Priscilla on the table STUP. Now revoke command is used to withdraw the user privileges which have been granted for a user. It does operation opposite to the grant command. When the privilege is revoked from the particular user, then the privileges granted to all the other users by the user will be revoked. So the syntax is revoke privilege name on the object name from username, and the public on the role name it is. So here you can see that it will be using, it will be just saying revoke, insert, select on the particular table from Priscilla it is. That is the user. Then this is an additional notes wherein you can see that SQL, that is the structured query language commands, are used for accessing and managing data in database management system. DBMS is a software that allows you to access, manipulate data found in database. It is used to perform the query, which is simple as an inquiry. Essentially, entering SQL commands in the database has 3 steps: gaining access to the database, requesting specific data, and the DBMS providing the specifically which has been indicated. Now, some more information on transaction control language. It's mainly about the importance of the transaction control language. In just one single line, we can say without TCL, a database is like a person without a cache, no importance. No real world transaction would be made possible, or if done without TCL, database becomes inconsistent. So TCL handles concurrently and makes real world transaction to follow ACID properties in database. Now let's see something more on constraints. Constraints are used to limit the type of data that can go into the table. Those are the conditions which are being applied to one particular table or a complete database, or you can also have it on one particular column. This ensures the accuracy and reliability of the data in the table. A constraint in the project management is any restriction that defines the project limitations. SQL constraints. The rules are used to limit the data that is entered into the table and to maintain the accuracy and integrity of the data inside the table is referred to as constraints. Constraints help to maintain the data integrity in the database. The 2 types of the database are the column level. The constraints are restricted to the column data only. Table level. These are limited to the table, that is the complete table data. The following constraints are used for the table level data constraints. That is the primary key, foreign key, not null, unique, and check. More on constraints will be done in the next session. So I love SQL. Thank you for hearing.